Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today in this session. My name is Jenny Mariana González, and I'm part of the ILE team in the USTA Villavicencio, the Santo Tomás University. Today I want to present to you one pedagogical experience that I had, and it's called My Great Business Idea, a classroom experience using English language to talk about professional context through CLIO. The agenda for today's session is the one that you are seeing here on the line. I want to start with the abstract, some important points. Then I will move to the theoretical framework, mentioning some important authors. Then the approach. After that, I will mention some of the results that I had from this experience. After that, I will mention some important points from building communities, that is the topic of ASOCOPI. After that, I will mention some conclusions, and I will finish with the references in this project. To start, I would like to say that in this world of teaching a foreign language, teachers sometimes we see ourselves following traditional language teaching, just following the curricula that are focused just on the traditional teaching. Just we leave apart what really matters, that is student needs, right? That's why we need to start to innovate with the different activities and methodologies that we use in the classroom. The idea of this proposal or of this project started when I received a group of students. They are from the program of international business from a private university in Villavicencio. They were taking the 4th level of English at that time, and I wanted to do something different with them because I received them with a very low motivation in English. So they just wanted to do like regular activities, like just grammar patterns. They were in kind of this vicious circle of just learning like grammar, and that's it. So I want to fill a piece of paper and that will be it, but nothing related to communication. So I wanted to change because, and more that they were from international business programs, so they had to have kind of a global awareness of what it means culture. That's why I wanted to create that project, and the methodological support that I have for this project, of this experience, is CLIL, because it improves languages competencies on a student using English as a tool to learn a content that in this case it was their professional field, that is business. At the end of the project, of the experience, I could see on my student that their motivation of learning English increased, and of course they could learn a content related to their field in English. So that was very fruitful. In the theoretical framework, I can refer to 4 main authors for each one of the methodologies. In this case, I have communicative language teaching and CLIL as content and language integrated learning. So for CLT, I can mention Noonan, and he talks about the 5 features that a student need to have when learning a language. So he mentioned that first, the student need to have an integration of a message that he wants or she wants to transmit in the target language. Also, he mentioned that using authentic materials in different learning situations is important. After that, he mentioned that provide opportunities for learners on the whole process, not just for specific activities that we do in classroom, but also in all of their contexts, in the classroom and outside of the classroom. Also, we need to provide the students experience as a vital element in classroom learning, because all the activities need to have connected or linked with the activities that they normally do outside as their classes, for example, in their program. Connected to this, I can mention that Bill Chamber emphasizes on communication as a main role because spoken exchanges should be authentic, meaningful, and interactive. So that's the main point that this author says. According to Seeker and Aydin, they say that CLT methodologies focus on developing learners' communicative competence, but rather than solely providing grammar teaching. So that's what we want to change. That just seeing English is equal to grammar. We need to change that. Finally, Saduk Banini and Shamsuri, they say that CLT was developed to provide learners with the ability to use the target language in context. So context in here is the main point in real life conditions. Moving to CLIL, I can stay to Genesee, and this author states that integrate language and content definitely had advantages that over teaching language alone. So we need to have that global context in there. According to Crandall, he says that if language has to be used in a specific context, the student can integrate not just the language but also the content to the language learning that can help them in the different process that they have outside of the class, the English classroom. After that, I want to refer to Mehisto, Marsh, and Friggles, and they say that there are 5 main principles in CLIL that we as teachers need to follow in order to have a very complete process with our students in the classroom. The first one is authenticity, so it means that we need to use authentic materials. Second, multiple focus is the variety that we can provide our students. Number 3, active learning, so active students in both the preparation and presentation stages on all the activities that we do with them. Then, safe learning environment, that it's teacher and peer participation. So not just the teacher is the one that has the knowledge, but also we need to have the students that create that knowledge and join together the content together with the English language. Finally, we have the scaffolding stage that is one of the main point also in my project, because my role was as a facilitator. Also, I had to learn for my students, but I just was like a guide for them. That's it in the project, and they create the rest of the activity. Finally, I want to finish with an important author in CLIL, that is Coyle, and he speaks about the 4C. So what are the 4C that he mentions? He says that in the process of learning a language, the student needs to have or to be exposed to these 4 reference points. We have communication, content, cognition, and all of these 3 need to have integrated with culture that we have in here. So when we talk about content, this author refers to the progression that a student can have in knowledge skills. Communication as the learning process through interaction. Cognition, the learning and thinking processes. And finally, as I said, the culture that need to permeate the other elements that we just mentioned in here, because it fuses the subject matter and the language teaching too. We move to the approach, and in the approach, as I said in the abstract, it was a connection to CLIL, an important kind of help, not just seeing CLIL as an independent, but it was the connection that I could have because it was the big part in any process of teaching and learning a language. As we know, the communicative approach is based on the idea that language successfully comes through communicating real meaning and real context, that as I wanted to do with my students in the general part. The context of my students and in the pedagogical experience, so I had 2 groups of international business students. They were taking 4 level of English, and their ages are between 19 and 22 years old. We had an hourly intensity of 4 hours per week. but not all of those 4 hours were just for this project. So I had to be very careful when putting all these activities in the lesson plans for all the semester. And we work during around 16 weeks. The stages that I had for my project are the ones that you are seeing on the screen. I have 8 stages. The first one is planning. So before giving a content to my students, what I had to do was to learn to look for information regarding business, because it was the first time that I had this group of this career. So I had to learn to look information about vocabulary regarding companies, marketing, all these methodologies that they had to learn in their regular subjects in their career. So that was kind of the first plan, to expose myself to that content, to learn, and to start thinking in the variety of activities that I could give them. The second stage was the content exposure. So during all the semester, I exposed the students to a variety of activities regarding the 4 skills of English. So they had listening exercises. We also did some reading comprehension activities. We developed some writing. It was important too, in order for them to have a clear and a specific structure when writing. But also the main focus in here was speaking. So we did a lot of drills in order for them to be prepared for the final activity in the implementation, but also for the different activities that we did during all the semester. In the observation stage, the student had to look information about known entrepreneurs of the region. As we know, the Meta department is known for having a lot of famous entrepreneurs in the country. So that's why I wanted them to have like a real example from their context, that it was the city, what famous entrepreneurs they knew that could help as an example for them when they started to write their business plan, their business idea. That is the 4th stage, that it was the production. So in the production stage, they had to start thinking in the idea, what was the product or what was the service that they want to invent, right? To innovate with. I had as an example or as a guide this template. So this is the author that I took the PDF from. And when writing this business plan, they had to think in the idea, why this idea was innovative, how were they going to manage the marketing part, the prices, what else, and how were they going kind of to sell that product to the public. So they did that writing exercise before the speaking drill. In the stage number 5, it was the scaffolding stage. In this stage, I was the facilitator, the guide, because I gave them the feedback, not just in writing, like in the language skill, but also in the content, because some ideas needed to be like kind of to be adjusted a little bit regarding the innovation part. So we work a lot. They had peer review also. So that was very, very helpful. After that, in the preparation stage, in this stage, the students start to think about how they were going to design not just the decoration of the stand, but the important part that was the content. How they could get the appropriation of the content, but also in the language part with pronunciation, vocabulary. They had some business question, like as an example, that we could have that day from the public, and that helped a lot to do that peer review in the classroom. In the last stage, that was the implementation of the project. So if you see here, The student needed to prepare the stand. They had the advertising, some leaflets. They had the real products. Some of them are right now working on that idea, so that is great. They felt very secure talking about the prices, the advantages of their products or service. So they were very nervous at the beginning, but I could notice that they were ready to present the idea. They felt very excited to have their teacher, their students in general. We sent the invitation to the different faculties. So if you see here, this is the advertising that we designed for that activity. And it was very fruitful. We have a lot of attendees to that activity, and they felt great to talk about their professional field in English. Okay, so after this, I want to discuss some general points of the results. After the activity, I asked them that in that specific moment, like, how do you feel? How was it? What do you think about the activity, etc. So I have an immediate feedback from them, and they say it was great. I felt a little bit nervous, but they were practicing in advance, so they felt very happy for discussing that topic in English. Some of the important items that I had from them, from the survey, because I asked them to fill a survey after the activity. It was that the activity, it was very meaningful because they could work content and English, so they liked the methodology that I use. They work in real context, that is the professional. They say that's what we need in the future. That's the content that we need to feel like ready when discussing in English. For example, they said that they needed to know that in English. They also could work in different skills in English, or all the skills, because we had a lot of activities in each one of the skills, in vocabulary, listening, reading, so they like that too. They loved that we could have outside of the classroom. That was the first time that they had that, so they really love it. They great job with the decoration of the stand and all those things, so it was great. Also, they have they could experience a cultural outlook, not just with international, some items from an international view, but also from the regional context, that is what they are living right now. Of course, they developed some communicative and social skills and life skills, because that's what they are going to need. Some of their comments from the survey is this. So in general terms, it was a very fruitful experience. I learned a lot from them as a teacher, so that's pretty much the results that I could have from the activity. It was very satisfactory. Talking a little bit about the building communities, that is our topic, that's why we are here today. In short words, I could say that these activities help the students and help me as a teacher to develop ties in English, or using English as a tool. They work a lot in peer work. They did a lot of development among them, so they work a lot on that social skills. And of course, they had a general view, an overview at how are they going to be exposed in the future as a professional in their field, so we can have that tie between students and the world. As final conclusions, I could say that first, I use CLIL because it helped to improve overall competencies in students, not just in the target language, but they could use that language to talk about their context, and that's what it really matters. It's a medium between these two aspects. Also, as I said before, the students are going to use, that's what they are going to need in the future, to learn all that vocabulary and that experience when they are working. I love that the motivation increased, so I have the comparison when I receive them at the beginning of the semester, and then when I finish the semester with them, because that activity was at the end of the semester as the final kind of speaking exam. So they didn't feel that it was an exam, it was just an activity, a closing activity of the semester. Of course, with they and me, of course, we could improve the intercultural communication, the diversity that we had in the activities. It was great because I could develop a lot of, or to touch a lot of points in the language skill, and I just leave like a kind of point in here, that is the administrative support, because that's sometimes what maybe leave us apart when we want to innovate in the different workplaces. We need to have that administrative support in order for all the activities. Each one of us as the teachers, we do great activities, but sometimes it just stay in class and that's it. So the idea is that we can show our students, our different groups, our peers, right, our work peers, to that they can innovate, and the methodology that you use can be useful for another teacher. So that's why we are here sharing these experiences and to change this kind of traditional methodologies that we can have, and more that we are now in a virtual situation. We need to innovate a lot and to have some changes in the future in the different syllabus that we manage. Finally, I want to show you the references that I use for this project. And that's it. I hope you have liked that project that I did. If you have any question, my email account is over here. Thank you so much for being here.